Hi guys, welcome to the Northern Film Review. Last week we reviewed Portrait of a Lady on Fire, the critically acclaimed French drama. This week we'll be talking about our first ever animated film, SpiderMan Into the Spider-Verse. Hope you enjoy.
The Northern Film Review, with your hosts, Oliver Ellis and Luke Simpson.
Hey guys, welcome to the Northern Film Review. I'm here with Luke. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Stressed.
Yeah,
Uni.
that's the that's the key word for everyone I've been talking to in the past couple of days. Stressed out of their mind. I think because we've just gone into second year, and I think we were, first year is pretty much a walk in the park. I mean, I think my last year of A levels was harder than my first year at uni, but this second year at university really just kind of it hits you like a bag of bricks, doesn't it? You're just kind of like, oh my god.
Yeah, lectures, seminars, rewatching lectures, essays, script writing, getting stuff ready for filming, experimental filmmaking. We have lots going on at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we do a weekly podcast as well, which we have to research for hours and record and edit and do all that. That possibly doesn't help that much, but with our workload and
But it's a good source of release. It's kind of relaxing a little bit just to have a break from essay writing and just talk about films because that's our passion, really. So
yeah. Well, the thing is with essay writing on our course is they tend to expect a level of like essay writing that you get from other courses. But because the majority of our course, we don't do essay writing. So when we do an essay, it's incredibly difficult. And just everyone, because we don't get the practice on like sort of doing in-text citations and our bibliographies. And like when we have to do it, we have to relearn it all over again. I'm just writing this assignment. I was like, what's a quote? And then just like, I don't know, fumbling over that for a good hour.
And it's the fact that we have to we have like 5 questions to choose from, and then one of them you have to compare 2 films using using filmmaking language. One of them's explaining horror and how one of the questions is basically psychology, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I gave myself quite a particularly difficult job on the essay because one of the questions is how does a specialized area of filmmaking affect the visual narrative? And I thought, you know what, that'll be a fun question. And then for some reason, I chose sound, and then trying to see how sound affects the visual narrative, which I don't know whether you know this, but you can't see sound. So I've intentionally just made it an incredibly difficult assignment for myself. There's no particular reason. I hope it pays off. Otherwise,
I chose the easy way. I did set and costume and just talked about mise en scene because gotta love a bit of mise en scene.
Yeah, and I'm just
You're
very
there with
difficult.
audio, which you can't see.
Yeah, I'm just I don't know. But when I sort of like started thinking about it, I already wrote I do like a really extensive plan to begin with. I do like about like a 2,000 word plan, and then I'll write the assignment. It's about 3,000 words. But yeah, it is a fun time, and not to mention the fact that I'm having a bit of hoo-ha with the student union, with my journalism society, and I'm just
Woo! The student union. Woo!
I know they're just they're making us submit our articles to them 8 days before they're published, so they just don't understand the basics of news. Like it's not going to be new after 8 days, you moron. But yeah. Anyway, that's enough about our
hardships.
Our hardships as university students. perhaps not understanding the greater world of work yet.
Yeah.
But maybe in a couple of years we'll come back and be like, yeah, second year that was so easy.
Yeah,
You,
walking apart compared to real life.
yeah, you ever done a PhD in cross comparative sound studies? No. Uh, God, if that's what my future holds for me, I'm gonna
I'm
interesting.
gonna cry.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So we're talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is a lot of use of the word spider, which I don't know. Perhaps I'm not really very keen on the title, if I'm being honest.
No, it could have been.
Um,
It could have been a little shorter.
I think just Into the Spider-Verse
Or
might have been,
Spider Verse.
or Spider-Verse, yeah, or I don't know, Spider-Man verse or something. I don't
Or
know.
just or Miles Morales.
Yeah, I just like really sort of simplistic movie titles, really.
Well, a bit hypocritical to talk about a portrait of a lady on fire. Massive
That's
name.
true, but that was perhaps a film that was translated. And to be fair, it is a pretty long name. It can't even be like shortened down to anything, can it?
No,
You know what I mean? Like you can't go
you can't. You can't do it to a lady on fire.
PLF,
Yeah.
Lady on Fire. It doesn't really work, does it?
Clef.
Clef. So yeah, if you haven't seen this film, there's going to be some major spoilers in this podcast for it, but it is a wonderful, wonderful film, and it's got an 87 critic score on Metacritic, which is pretty good. Not the best, but it's pretty good for I'd imagine an animated film, a superhero film, and it uses a score of 8.8. And it's starring a bunch of famous people. Chris Pine, Nicolas Cage,
Ooh, got a little bit of Nicolas
um,
Cage.
other people.
John Mulaney.
John Mulaney, who is my dad is watching quite a lot of at the moment for some reason. I'm not
And
really sure why.
there's also Mahershala Ali as well in it. Is it
Who?
Mahershala Ali? The guy who's been on Moonlight and Green Book.
Mm.
He's actually playing the Blade, actually, when that comes out in a few years' time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Mahershala Ali, I think he's called. Very, very good actor. Very good actor. And he plays his uncle, Miles Morales' uncle.
Have you ever seen the original Blade?
Yeah, Wesley Snipes.
Oh God, that's a terrible movie. But it's a good terrible.
Yeah,
I mean?
just at the beginning when the blood just comes down from the sprinkler system. It's just
well, that's quite a good scene though. I think that's probably my favorite scene of the movie. But
yeah, it's
roughly
like that
terrible.
one non-vampire there who just gets absolutely demolished.
Yeah. But anyway, so Vanity Fair said about Spider-Verse is a dreamy, funny, self-aware, visually expressive delight with a sharper sense of humor than the sophomoric wearing Deadpool, a keener, more kinetic sense of action than most of the live-action Avengers films, save maybe Ant-Man, and richer ideas than most of the visual, muddy, self-serious DC films we've gotten in a while. Which is quite, there's lots of very positive sort of reviews saying it's very sort of quirky and interesting, and which is good. But yeah, I like it. Rotten Tomatoes, a 97% certified fresh meter, and a 93% audience score.
That might be our highest one, mightn't it?
I don't know. I feel like I should be keeping tally of these things, but I just kind of read them out a little bit.
Yeah.
And the New York Times says this film manages the delicate feat of embracing its source material whilst also satirizing it, which is quite an interesting sort of quote I pulled from the New York Times there. And it's kind of, yeah, I think that's a very good explanation of the film, just in general, really, because the sort of, yeah, it's very funny, but it also just it doesn't, like, because I see a lot of these sort of I mean, I'm not really that keen on superhero films. I mean, I know
Yeah.
you are, but
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Marvel superhero geek, so
yeah,
comic book fan, but
yeah, and I just kind of yeah, it's not like you don't see like nerds fighting over it on like Twitter or whatever, just going, oh, you know what, it's not true to this comic book I've never read, and I'm just
yeah.
like, oh god, can you just calm down, mate? Really?
Yeah, I'm not one of them, don't you worry.
Hmm.
um,
But do you want to like tell people what this like the general sort of the story is about a bit?
yeah, I can, yeah. Um, so our main focus is on this young teenager called Miles Morales.
Mm.
He go, basically he gets bitten by this spider, a radioactive spider, that turns him into Spider-Man. But he finds out he isn't the only one. At the beginning, he comes across a fight scene with Spider-Man and Kingpin and Green Goblin and the Prowler, and well, spoiler, um, Spider-Man dies. He wanted to Spider-Man wanted to help him through, be like his mentor and help him to become the newer Spider-Man when he retires, but he didn't get the
Yeah.
chance to. And basically, Kingpin wants to try and get his family back because they ran away because he found out his true self, and it basically they got killed because they got hit by a car. So he's got help of Doc Ock to help go through the multiverse and get his family back. But when Spider-Man tries to stop him, um, he can't. His DNA mixes in it, and basically all the Spider-Mans from the different universes come into Miles's.
Mm.
And from there we see Peter Parker come into a world where Spider-Man is basically he's dead, but he comes from a different one where he's a bit of a fool, a bit obese. We get Spider Gwen, Peter Parker, Spider-Man Noir, and stuff like other Spider-Men come into the universe and basically try. And basically, the story is them trying to get back, but we're also focusing on Miles becoming Spider-Man as well, like
Mm.
him. He calls it going through puberty, which is it's quite a cool thing because like he's trying to become a man. Basically, that's what
Mm.
puberty is, and he's trying to become Spider Man. And at the end, he does. So
Well, I suppose that's a general metaphor for the film, isn't it? That it's
mm,
kind of a coming of age story,
yes.
and it's going through his sort of tribulations of like how it is to become a man, and he's sort of people coming in from the Spider Verses giving him advice, and they could be sort of you know, it's kind of like a way like all of these different like Spider Mans are sort of people who've gone through it before,
Yeah, they
and
go through
can
hardship too.
and gone
Yeah,
through hardship, and they could tell him about how to sort of go through it. And it's kind of a sort of the moral of the story is that you should trust the people who have had similar experiences to you because they will be able to help you get through the sort of pain. I think,
yeah,
which is I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too hard into a film
yeah.
with a character called Peter Porker, but
He's a pig who gets bitten by a. Yeah,
which is interesting. But it also has a Kingpin in it, who's I quite like Kingpin as a character because he's in
yes.
is it Daredevil
Daredevil, the
on
season 1 and season 2. Yeah,
yeah, and I really sort of I like Kingpin as a character. Just because he's kind of cool and sort of he's not got any superpowers. His only superpower is he's a bit sort of you
hench.
know a bit hench,
He's
yeah,
hench.
and it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I love sort of that sort of, and I kind of wonder like, what I just really love in sort of this general sort of Marvel Cinematic Universe is there just to be like a New York City where you can just see all of the superheroes who are like going against Kingpin, just make a super group, and because I had that sort of what was it called on Netflix,
They had the Defenders,
The Defenders, and they
which
only made
had
one series of that, didn't they?
yeah, that had Iron Fist, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage.
Which
Oh,
and
also
they
Mahershala Ali was in Luke Cage. Actually, he was Cottonmouth in that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Um, and I kind of just, yeah, I don't know. But then Disney Plus kind of like displaced it all, and then
Mm.
Netflix cancelled it, and it's all just kind of a bit, you know, which is a shame. But
Yeah, but
yeah,
Kingpin in this film, he's massive. He's massive in
I
it.
know, yeah.
He's quite a threatening figure in it.
Mm,
No wonder why his family ran away. It's this big hulking monstrosity of a man, but threatening, strong, just
mm,
a menace. Really, you wouldn't want to
yeah,
come around a dark corner when he's there down a dark side street. Just like this
yeah.
big wide man just coming, and they're like, well, when he walks, the ground shakes. So you kind of see him as a figure of authority and just
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a very. I mean, what it kind of like brings us on to the sort of the large question of the film. What do you sort of think of the animation style?
I love it.
Mm,
It looks like it looks like I'm watching a comic
mm,
book come to life. Um, all the little details that these animators did. They have these little dots, which one of the most famous comic book drawers, or comic book artists used um, for his drawings, these dots to make it look just out of this world, and like they use that to, and they incorporate that in the animation. Uh, my favorite part of it, that normal animation is animated in 12 frames per second,
mm,
whereas I'm filmed in 12 frames per second, whereas Spider-Man Spider Verse was filmed in animated and filmed in 24 frames per second,
mm,
but during the escape from Doc Ock's lab, where he's learning to web swing, it's filmed in 12 frames per second. So Miles looks a bit off. He looks a bit jumpy, cluttery, and it shows that he's not Spider-Man yet. He's not learnt the ropes yet. So when he's running and trying to web swing, he's a bit clunky. He's in 12 frames per second, but when he starts swinging with Peter, it goes from 12 to 16 to 18 to eventually to 24 frames. So it becomes more smoother when he's learning, which I only found out. I haven't got that eye, but I was watching a visual effects artist react to it. Shout out to Corridor Digital.
mm.
But they were saying now you might have not noticed at the beginning, when you rewatch it and know it, you can't not see it, and it's a really cool feature, like really cool aesthetic choice as well that the animators decided to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting detail, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of I mean, I'm animating my experimental film at the moment, and I think perhaps I'm never getting to the detail of this, but like, just to sort of go into the sort of the depth of changing the frame rate, or how many frames per second. It's just, you know, that's an incredible amount of detail, isn't it? To
Yeah,
sort of have that sort of effect. I mean, I feel like you probably could have achieved that effect or what you wanted to, perhaps in an easier way than doing that.
yeah,
But it's interesting to see these sort of neat little things. So there's a lot of sort of interesting animated facts about this film. I mean, I don't watch that many animated films. But apparently all I mean this is something you told me before we started the song, but I'm gonna steal it.
rude.
You said that all the animators wanted to draw Stan Lee, so
Yeah,
he appears in every train in the movie, which
yeah,
is pretty insane. Um
because I think this came out just after or just before his death, I think.
mm,
So it was quite an emotional thing, and that's why I think most animators wanted to draw him, because they wanted to have that part of history to say, oh yeah, I animated Stan Lee a Marvel film.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's quite a nice thing, and yeah. I mean, it's the sort of because Stanley is in all the more or less the Marvel films.
Yeah,
And it's kind of sort of sad to think that it will never appear in another
yeah.
Marvel film.
It was
But
like in the most recent Avengers, he was dead before that came out, and they still managed to get him in it,
yeah,
like just a de-aged version of it, and it's amazing what visual effects can do
mm,
nowadays. They can raise someone from the dead,
mm,
basically, as you can see from some of the Star Wars films, and well, like you've seen in Avengers. But talk about having Stan Lee and all the trains and stuff like that. That's a little Easter egg, and I want to go on to Easter eggs because
mm.
they're fun. I love Easter eggs, and not chocolate Easter eggs that are little little things that animators or that set designers or what directors put into a film to a little nod to the audience, and I love it. My favourite one is that scene again when they're coming from Doc Ock's lab, is where basically it's something silly like they take a bagel and
Mm.
they lob it behind them when they're out, and then when it hits someone on the head, it goes bagel. In like power instead of power or chop or like that,
Yeah, yeah.
like in like the old Adam West Batman's, it goes bagel, and it's just like out of nowhere, but it's probably my favourite little detail that there is in it. It's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And I love that. I love this sort of interesting because, like I read earlier from the New York Times, it is so satirical on its sort of on its source material, and like everything's played as a parody to its own self, but it's not overdone,
Yeah,
in any way, shape or form. Like Peter Porker in from Spider Ham, and he's just kind of like I don't know. I just love Peter Porker so much because I don't know, and also it just kind of like it references the general wider Pig Spider-Man from the Simpsons movie. I think
yeah,
I
Spider
I
Man.
I think they should I think they
Spider
should
Pig.
have a Spider-Man. I think they should have a Spider Ham film, in my opinion.
Oh, an animated one with John.
Yeah,
I love John Mulaney. John
mm,
Mulaney, for an American comedian, because I do think American comedians are a bit cringy
yeah,
most
yeah,
of the time, and not sex shots, but definitely English comedians are better.
yeah.
Uh, but like a lot of the Saturday Night Live people, I quite like John Mulaney and
Mm.
I can't remember his name now. Quite a young lad. Dated Ariana Grande. I can't remember his name. Peter Davidson. Pete Davidson. I
Oh
like
yeah,
him.
yeah.
And also Eric Andre. They're like
Mm,
because they're funny. It just make me just keel
mm.
over. And I think John Mulaney was the perfect um, person to
Yeah.
play Spider
Mm.
Ham. Just some silly side character, but
Yeah,
he gave it life really.
yeah, I think this whole film kind of reminds me. I mean, you mentioned Saturday Night Live there. I think it kind of reminds me a lot of sort of Saturday Night Live sort of
Skits.
um skits a little bit. I mean, obviously Saturday Night Live isn't the best TV show
No.
ever. I think it's perhaps gone past its time now, but
Yeah.
I think that sort of the satirical elements of Saturday Night Live somewhat come through on it. And I think like you said, John Mulaney was a great sort of cast for it. And I mean, it also has Nick Cage in this film as
It was
well.
also a brilliant, brilliant casting for Spider-Man Noir.
Mm.
I would have never thought to see Nick Cage in an animated film. But
Yeah, yeah.
he's in a few, which I didn't really realise. He's in the Kroogs.
Yeah, I mean Nick Cage does every film he's offered ever.
Yeah,
But
but he's
w-
He's amazing in this film. Surprisingly good in it.
Yeah, I think Nick Cage is one of those people I'd really want to meet, but not to hang out with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I feel like he'd be a lot to sort of deal with.
A lot to take in, because
Yeah,
he is mental. Mental.
yeah, he's crazy. I mean, I think he spends so much of his own money that he's really got very poor sort of money management. That he has to keep doing these films that are really bad and
Yeah,
would basically destroy everyone else's career. But
yeah.
because it's Nick Cage,
People watch it.
you could do Ghost Rider, if you really want, and then
No, but
just
like a Mum and Dad. Oh my god, that was awful. That film.
mm,
um,
and I'm looking through his
but
filmography
recently,
here.
he's
It's
done
just mad.
some really good indie films. With the Color Purple, I think one of them's called, and Mandy. Them two. Oh my word, amazing.
Mm.
It's basically Nick Cage at full crazy. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, Nick Cage at anything full is just,
Yeah, Face Off. Oh my god, that film.
yeah. I quite like these sort of like these actors who tend to have been in sort of terrible films get into sort of better films.
Robert Pattinson's definitely one that springs to mind.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Adam Sandler in like Uncut Gems and stuff like that.
It's
And just
made by,
like
isn't it made by his actual production company as well?
I don't know, I can't remember.
Billy Gilmore or something like that. It's called
Mm.
Happy Madison. That's it. Happy Madison Productions. But yeah, Uncut Gems was a massive shock to the system.
Mm. I both hated and loved that film.
Yeah.
In many ways. I had to watch it in bits because it's just so anxiety inducing.
Yeah, but
In
then he
terms of
goes
poor money management.
from that. Then he goes into Hubie Halloween, which is god awful.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awful.
He also made Pixels as well. So he can't be forgiven for that. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, coming back to the Spooderverse,
Spooniverse.
it's just a very funny film, isn't it? As well, and it's kind of the music in this film is interesting because
Yeah,
a lot of the music within this film is there's just so many singles.
yeah.
And by that I mean like sort of because
One-offs.
in a normal film you'd have someone score the film and you'd
Yeah,
have like little bit of like you'd have like a 50-second song there or you'd have a 1 minute song there and you'd have like a 10-minute song there. There's no
yeah,
like classic pop structure that perhaps you would see from mainstream sort of top 40, but this entire film is just like it is sort of uh single after single after single with sort of people with like Post Malone, Jaden Smith,
Sway
uh
Lee.
Sway Lee. Yeah, I mean it's perhaps not my sort of music taste.
And it's not mine. But from watching it, I do listen to the soundtrack every so often
Mm.
with all the singles in it because it's a good sound. They're good singles, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't go out of my way to listen to that person's full album or whatever. I'll listen to
no,
it because it's Spider-Man to Spider-Verse music, and they're really good, and it the music in it fits Miles as a character
mm.
as a
Sort of a bit of a rambunctious teen.
yeah
This is a sort of music that like people who are like 16
yeah
listen to. I mean, I'm saying that like I'm a 30-year-old, but
yeah.
but like
Damn kids.
I'm only 20. I'm like damn kids and their Post Maloney.
Yeah, with all their pop and their rap and their it's not
Hippity hop.
it's not rock. It's not it's not the Idols or it's not
Yeah,
Nirvana or not whatever. It's like
I don't know. I think perhaps this isn't the podcast to be discussing my sort of very obscure
yeah
in indie taste in music, but
yeah
yeah, I liked it, and I like the fact that it's kind of you tend to get these sort of perhaps these more bigger budget sort of I'm gonna say like I don't know who said this, but like theme park films. I think it was Martin Scorsese who said these films are sort of like roller coasters or theme parks or whatever. and then it's kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah, I kind of get it in the sort of a way that you know, you'd listen to these songs at a theme park or like a day out sort of activity, you know, and it's that sort of like fun, sort of like
Yeah.
everything is a bit light-hearted. There's no real deep
Yeah. I
meaning to this.
was gonna
It's
say
just
because
all kind of
Martin
surface.
Scorsese is the opposite of light-hearted, isn't he? He
Yeah.
does Departed. He does
Mm,
Casino. He does. Oh,
mm. Yeah, we should definitely do a Martin Scorsese film. I've been
yeah.
watching a lot of his short films that he made before he was sort of a feature-length director, and they're
Mm.
mad. They're like, some of them are just kind of really sort of, yeah. You should watch The Big Shave if you've never seen a Martin Scorsese short before.
No, I haven't seen
Um,
any of his shorts. I don't think.
but The Big Shave's really good. But yeah, so a lot of this film's kind of interesting, sort of hip hoppy, wonderfulness, and I think perhaps I don't know whether this, because this is another film that perhaps there isn't that much to talk about. I think,
Mm.
which we had this sort of difficulty with Ex Machina. Um,
But
if you remember.
we wanted to broaden people's horizons and, well, not just talk about live action films,
Mm,
but animated films as well, because there are some wonderful animated films, and this is probably one of my favorite animated films. Not
yeah.
because it's a Marvel film, just because how it's animated. It's
Mm,
technically amazing.
mm,
I'm
mm,
not an animator myself. I'm not a good drawer, but this is all hand animated.
mm, mm.
Hand animated. You know how long that would take you to do? It's
Yeah, I
ridiculous.
know.
And I
And
know,
animation takes forever.
yeah,
Really
I
does.
know cinematography is, you wouldn't think that straight away in animated films, but
Mm,
some of the shots in this film is just beautiful. Especially, it's near the end, and it's when he jumps off the building, and it's basically an inverted shot. Looks like he's rising.
mm,
It's probably one of the most stunning shots I've seen in an animated film. It's a big contrast from where he started at the beginning when he jumped off a building. He just crashed and he was falling, and then up to the end where he jumps off and he's rising. Like,
mm,
he's rised up to his ability. He's rised up to all the wrong that's happened to him throughout the film, all the hardships he's gone through to become Spider-Man, and it's this beautiful shot. And if you don't follow us on Instagram, follow us. I will post it on Instagram. It's the buildings are upside down, and it's just him basically rising, and it's stunning, and it's just beautiful. It's awesome, and
mm,
you should watch it just for that shot, because it is just, he takes a leap of faith,
mm.
and it's and it works out for him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm looking up sort of how this film sort of ranks between other sort of animated films. Um, and it's really sort of very highly ranked in sort of people's lists on
Yeah,
animated films. I mean, I'm looking at this sort of 21st century's best animated films, and it, out of like 30, it ranks fourth. Which, I mean, it's not best, but like
well, it's
being
not the
beaten
best.
out by Spirited Away and Mr. Fox and the Red
Oh,
Carpet.
sorry,
But
but
like,
Spirited Away is an amazing film.
yeah,
Amazing, amazing film.
we should do that one soon. But yeah, it's just I don't know. But what one of my sort of problems with this film, I think, is it's not sort of, I don't know. Perhaps this is just me being a bit snobby,
It probably
and
will be,
yeah,
yeah.
I think it perhaps doesn't really sort of tackle any sort of larger, you know, socio political sort of challenges really, and it's just a story, um, rather than anything else. And I think, if you look at sort of a film like Toy Story,
Yeah,
for example,
yeah.
you would perhaps get like sort of a deep meaning, and it might be tackling sort of like
Growing
dis-
up.
growing up and displacement, um, within sort of families, and sort of how, um, difficulty sort of arises. I mean, and also sort of other Marvel films, you'll get sort of larger, more political themes throughout the film.
Especially Winter Soldier. That's all. That's
Yeah,
definitely. That's a conspiracy film. It's that's a lot about governments and stuff like that, and what they're
yeah,
hiding from you and stuff like that.
yeah,
I would disagree with you in
mm,
saying that there's a larger theme. There's not a large theme in this film, and I think there
mm,
is. And I do
mm,
think it's family, and no matter how old you get, you need family, or how rambunctious
mm,
you are, you still need someone to talk to and a family. And I think it does it perfectly. You can see the beginning of the film and throughout the
mm,
film, his relationship with his dad is a bit off.
yeah,
It's not a strong relationship,
mm,
and he doesn't like Spider-Man, whereas Miles does. And
mm,
now it's found out that he is Spider-Man. He's closeted about it. He
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
want to
yeah,
tell his dad about it, and I think that's also about. I know it's way out there, but homosexuality and stuff like that, and how
yeah,
it's hard to
mm,
come out to people. It could be the smallest thing. It could be, oh, I found, what I've, what I, not, it could be, I am Spider Man. I've got a new job. It's still hard to come out to people saying I've got this, but especially with the sexuality aspect of it, it's hard to come out.
mm,
And he didn't have that relationship with his dad, but he had that relationship with his uncle.
mm,
And his dad knew he had a big relationship with his uncle, and that's why he
mm,
did that. The spray paint that mural, and that's
mm,
how he go. That's why he gets bitten and stuff like that. But when it comes later on in the film, spoiler alert, when his uncle dies, and his uncle is Prowler, and he's a villain, and he's made to kill Spider-Man, but he doesn't want it because it's his nephew, so he gets shot by Kingpin. And um, when that happens, Miles is in his room all tied up because he's not worthy yet to become Spider-Man. But his dad comes to the door, and it was heart wrenching. This scene,
mm,
his dad is at the door, and basically spewing his heart out and saying, "Yeah, Uncle Aaron's gone. He's not with us anymore." He goes, I know we haven't been the closest, and I know you're in there because I can see a shadow." But basically, his dad wanted someone to talk to and just talk to. He wanted to get his son back because he didn't want to waste time. And and it's hard because I think you can kind of see Miles when he talks to him, but he couldn't because he was tied up and his mouth was bound. Uh, but that's what gave him strength to become who he is, and he becomes Spider Man. Is that dad's talk and him talking with his family, and it gives him the strength to become Spider Man.
yeah. I don't know. Mm. I feel like you perhaps know this film a bit better than I do, and I think that's fair to say. I mean, I think perhaps when I watched this film, I don't know. It's just not my sort of film. I don't think.
Yeah,
Like I said, I enjoy the aspects of it that are good, and I will be able to appreciate any film that sort of has these good aspects to them. But I think perhaps it's just not my sort of film.
yeah. You wouldn't
Um,
go out your way to watch it. It's a film that everyone should watch at
mm.
least once,
Oh
just
yeah, definitely, yeah.
because of the animation in it. You may not like Marvel, like or superhero films like
Mm,
Oliver, but just take that out of your mind and just think it's a Kurosawa film or something like that. Or
mm.
just a normal film, and just watch it. And
Yeah, what I do tend to like about some superhero films is the ones that just kind of stray away from the larger sort of rubbish that's going on. Um, just sort of like because this one wasn't in the sort of the universe, was it?
it
It
was
wasn't in
part of
the
Sony.
it wasn't in the sort of the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I like that. I don't have to be like, going, "Oh God, is that an Easter egg to a film that I haven't watched?" Oh God, I'm gonna have to spend 3 hours watching a robot attack Iron Man or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's perhaps not my favorite film. And I don't know. I did like it though.
Yeah,
But it's perhaps, and again, like I mean, last week we reviewed one of my favorite films, which is A Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which is possibly the antithesis of this film. But
yeah.
perhaps you didn't really like that film as much as you would, and you you said similar
Yeah,
sort
so
of things to it.
I was on the same line as
Mm.
I wouldn't go watch it again, but it's a film that everyone should watch
Yeah,
purely for the cinematography of it. It was
yeah.
beautiful.
I think I'd say the similar thing with this. It's good to sort of watch and just understand the sort of the animation and the sort of perhaps just give it a go and that sort of thing. And I like that. I think, yeah, I think if you were to give it out of 10, what would you give it?
As a film or animated film,
As a film or an animated film? Oh God, I don't know.
because as an animated film, it would be
Mm,
probably 9.
mm,
It's one of my favorite animated films. Probably nine
mm,
point five as an animated film, but as a film by itself, probably a
mm.
bit lower.
Why do you draw the distinction between the two though?
Because for a film, I would say grounded in realism.
Mm,
They did two complete animated and normal films are two completely different styles. I would say.
yeah,
Um,
but could you?
you can compare
Mm,
the live action Cinderella to the animated Cinderella. They're two completely different films. They're
mm,
two completely different feels.
mm,
You say the same with live action. Yeah, animated Lion King and live action Lion King. You will say the animated Lion King is better than the live
mm,
action Lion King.
mm.
Stuff like that. Animated gives a completely different feel to a live action film.
Yeah.
It's more fun. It's more. People always say cartoons are childish,
Mm,
which I would disagree with.
mm.
If you haven't seen South Park or whatever, you can then Family Guy and stuff like that. You would then know you don't let your kids watch that.
Yeah, yeah, and sort of the slightly more depressing anime
Eh,
animated films out there.
Yeah,
You know. Yeah,
but
I think.
there wouldn't be much difference between them two though.
Mm,
So if I put them all together, probably 8.5 to 9,
mm,
I would say.
yeah, I think I appreciate the idea of like sort of separating them into separate ideas as sort of films. I think perhaps it's not like a style distinction. Like you can have horror animated films and you can have horror sort of. It's not
Yeah.
like sort of that, but it's more. I'd say. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting.
Mm,
Perhaps that's something you could write a thesis about
yeah.
and get a bit more in depth in. But I think it's. I like the film. I like the ideas of the film, but it's just kind of like I didn't really see either much of myself in it,
Yeah.
and I think I perhaps didn't really um, emphasize with sort of what the filmmakers were sort of telling in the film. I love like you mentioned. Really like the animation style, and I like sort of yeah. Like I kind of go for like Martin Scorsese's idea of superhero films. They're sort of roller coasters or theme parks or whatever. They're kind of fun, but there's sort of I mean, and again, like you said, you disagree with me on this, but like yeah, I'd give it probably like a 7 or something like that.
Still high though.
Yeah, it's still high. Yeah, obviously.
Going back to that Martin Scorsese quote.
Mm.
Uh, when he made, or he didn't make it, he produced it, but he produced the Joker. But
Yeah,
that was more realistic. That was more. It didn't feel like a kind. It didn't feel like a comic book film. It felt like a thriller. It felt like a crime film.
yeah, yeah. I think well, that did definitely have sort of um, yeah. I mean, what Martin Scorsese's actual quote was um, Marvel movies aren't cinema, which is what he said. I can't remember who said the sort of. No, he did say the theme parks one as well. Um, But yeah, I don't know. I'd give it a 7. I'd give it. It's
S-
I don't know.
Solid
It's
score.
yeah.
Solid score.
And again, like it's not low. I mean, I think what people tend to get sort of contrived with these sort of scores. I mean, our scores don't mean anything because we're not actually reviewing the film. We're just
Yeah.
telling you interesting things about the film. I think. I mean, we are reviewing it a little bit, but I think 7 is still a high score. I think 6 is still a high score.
Lowest score.
You know, and I think anything below 5 is.
What did you give Signs in the end?
I don't know. I think we gave that a 4, didn't we?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, we really hated that film.
Yeah. We weren't really passionate about how much we didn't like it.
Yeah, I think when we were going into that film, I kind of thought, you know what, I had very fond
Memories of it.
memories of that film when I watched it when I was younger, and I watched it again. I was like, God, this is just, I'm not feeling this film at all. Anyway, again, I watched this again for the podcast, and I didn't get that with this film because it's the second time I watched it, and for most of the films we do, it's usually the second or third time I've watched it. But yeah, it's a good film. It's an interesting film. You should definitely go watch it. Luke likes it a lot more than I do, but that's fine. So hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Hopefully you've enjoyed this ranting about Spooderham. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next week.
Next
I've been
week,
Oliver.
I've been Luke.
I've been Oliver. And yeah, bye.
Bye.